Chetan, Gagan, Hamsa, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So, yesterday we have discussed the cache memory and also the cache memory organization. So, cache memory is organized in three different ways. So, one is direct mapping, another one is associative mapping, and then the third one is the set associative mapping. So today we'll discuss about the input and output organization. That is, so this topic is about the computer's input and output. So here we will learn about how input and output is handled by the computer system. And as all of us know, input and output plays a crucial role in any modern computer system. Therefore, a clear understanding and appreciation of the fundamentals of input and output operations, the devices and interfaces are of the great importance. So input and output subsystem. So like memory subsystem, we have the input and output subsystem. So memory subsystem includes different types of memory devices like main memory, auxiliary memory, the associative memory, the cache memory, and so on. Similar to that, we have the input and output subsystem. So the input and output subsystem of a computer referred to as input and output. Okay, and this input and output subsystem provides an efficient mode of communication between the central system and the outside environment. So here the central system is nothing but your CPU, and the outside environment is nothing but your external devices. So the input and output system provides the mechanism for communication between the CPU and the external world. So external world is nothing but the input and output devices. Then what are peripheral devices? Okay. So input or output devices attached to the computer are also called the peripherals. Okay, remember IO devices are also called as the peripheral devices. So a peripheral is an external device that provides input and output for the computer. And there are two types of peripherals. So input devices and output devices are input peripherals are the output peripherals. So what are input devices? So input devices allows the user input from the outside world to an computer. That means it allows the user input from the external devices or the input devices to the computer. So examples of input devices are the keyboard, the mouse, all these things. And what are output devices? Are output peripherals. So these peripherals allows information output from the computer to the outside world. Okay. So here again the outside world refers to the output devices. Okay. So examples are the printer, the monitors, isn't it? So this is about the peripheral devices. Okay. So input and output devices are also called as the peripheral devices. So then what is input and output interface? So the thing is, so as you know that the peripheral devices or input output devices are used to transfer information between the CPU and the IO devices. But the input and output devices cannot directly communicate with the CPU, okay, because of various differences between them. Okay, so to repeat, input and output devices cannot directly communicate with the CPU due to various differences between them. Okay, That means CPU and IO devices cannot communicate directly. Okay, so we need an input-output interface. Okay, so this input and output interface provides a method for transferring information between the internal storage, that means such as memory and CPU registers, and the external IO devices. Okay, that means the input and output devices needs special communication links for interfacing them with the CPU. So these special communication links are nothing but the input and output interface. Okay. So why we need the input and output interface? Okay. So the reason is here. Okay. The purpose of the communication link is to resolve the differences between the computer and the peripheral devices. Okay. Then the question is, what are the major differences between the CPU and the peripheral devices or the input and output devices? So here are the major differences between the CPU and or the computer and the peripheral devices. So the first difference is with respect to how they are constructed. That means the peripherals and the CPU or memory. Okay. So peripherals are made up of the electromechanical and electromagnetic devices. Okay. So peripherals are electromechanical and electromagnetic devices, whereas CPU or memory, okay, is made up of the electronic device. Okay. So CPU or memory is an electronic device. Therefore, a conversion of signal values may be required. Okay. That means analog to digital or digital to analog. Okay. Or serial data to parallel data or parallel data to serial data. Okay. So a conversion of signal values may be required. So then the second difference between the peripherals and the CPU are with respect to the data transfer rate. Okay. So data transfer rate is nothing but the speed at which the data is transferred between the CPU and the peripherals, okay, and vice versa. So peripherals are usually slower. Okay. So they usually have lesser data transfer rate. Okay. That is the meaning of slower. Okay. Whereas CPU or memory, okay, are usually faster than the peripherals. Okay. So they will have the higher data transfer rate when compared to the peripherals data transfer rate. So some kinds of synchronization mechanism may be needed. Okay. While transferring the data between the CPU or memory and the peripherals. Okay. So the third major difference between the peripherals and CPU are with respect to the unit of information. So unit of information is about the data codes and the formats in peripherals differ from the word format in the CPU or memory. So usually peripherals are, as I said, the input and output devices. Okay, the unit of information are the byte, block, and so on. Okay. That means peripheral devices transfer information in the form of bytes, okay, or blocks. Okay. Blocks are nothing but sequence of bytes. Okay, you can call it. Whereas CPU or memory, okay, they're able to transfer a word of data. Okay, they're normally their unit of information is the word. Okay. So that will cut as the word length of the CPU. Okay. So word length, what is the meaning of the word length? The number of bits that can be processed by microprocessor at a time. Okay. So it can be 8-bit or word, okay, or double word and so on. And the next difference is data representation may differ. And the fifth difference, operating mode of peripherals are differ from each other, and each must be controlled so as to not to disturb the operation of other peripherals connected to the CPU. So these are the major differences between the peripherals and the CPU. So to resolve these differences, computer systems include special hardware components between the CPU and the peripherals to supervise and synchronize all the input and output transfers. And these components are called as the interface unit. Okay. So the I/O devices cannot directly communicate with the CPU. Okay, because of these issues. Okay. So we need an special hardware components between the CPU and the peripherals. Okay. To supervise and synchronize all the input and output transfers. These components are called as the interface units, okay, or input output module. So then what is an interface? So interface is nothing but a point of contact between two parts of the system. Okay. In other words, interface is a shared boundary between the two separate components of the computer system. Okay. So it is a shared boundary between two separate components of the system. So to interface means to attach two or more components or systems via their respective interface points for data exchanges between them. That means interface can be used to attach two or more components to the system for the communication purpose. There are two main types of interface. So there are two types of interface. One is the CPU interface, okay, corresponds to the system bus, okay, and another one is the I/O interface, okay, nature of I/O devices. So this is the diagram that shows the use of the input-output interface circuits between the CPU and the peripheral devices. Okay. So as I said, the CPU and the I/O devices cannot communicate directly. So we need an interface. Okay. So that interface is nothing but the input and output interface. Okay. So for transfer of data between the processor and the peripheral, okay, and vice versa. So let us understand the input and output interface in detail. So then the next question is, so what are the main functions of this input and output interface circuit? Okay. So this one. So the main functions of input and output interface circuits are, first one is data conversion. So what do you mean by the data conversion? So data conversion refers to conversion between digital and analog signals, okay, and analog to digital signals. Okay. And also data conversion refers to conversion between serial and parallel data formats. So these I/O modules are designed to perform these data conversions. Okay. And another function performed by this I/O interface circuit or I/O module is the synchronization. So as I said, I/O devices are slower when compared to the CPU, okay, or the memory. Okay. So we need a synchronization mechanism, okay, for transfer of data between the CPU or memory and the peripheral device. Okay. So synchronization refers to matching of the operating speeds of CPU and the other peripherals. Next, another function of input-output interface circuit is device selection. So device selection refers to selection of I/O device by CPU in a queue manner. Okay, so because we have various peripheral devices, isn't it? Various input devices and various output devices. Okay. And this interface circuit need to select the respective I/O devices, okay, for communication. Okay. So What do you mean by input and output interface? So input and output interface is a special communication link for interfacing the peripheral devices with the CPU. So here is how the processor, okay, and the various peripheral devices are interface using the interface circuit units, okay, or the I/O modules. So the heading is input and output bus, okay, and the interface modules. A typical communication link between the processor and the several peripheral is shown in figure. Okay. So when I say communication link between the processor and the several peripheral, is nothing but the I/O interface circuits. Okay. So if you refer the diagram here, so each of the peripheral devices like keyboard, printer, magnetic disc, magnetic tape, okay, are interfaced to the processor, okay, using a separate interfacing circuit, okay, or a separate I/O circuit. Okay. So keyboard and display terminal are connected to the processor, okay, using the input and output bus. When I say input output bus consists of data bus, the address bus, and the control bus. Okay. So the keyboard and display terminal and the processor are interfaced using an I/O model. Okay. And they are interconnected using the I/O buses. Okay. Data bus, address bus, and the control bus. Similarly, a printer is connected to a processor using a suitable interface. Similarly, the auxiliary devices like magnetic disc, magnetic tape are connected to the processor, okay, using the suitable input and output interface. Okay. And so, which are the peripherals here? Peripherals are nothing but keyboard, the printer, the magnetic disc, and the tape. Okay. And each peripheral device associated with it an interface circuit. Okay. So, if you observe the diagram here, each of these peripheral devices are associated with an interface circuit. So, these are the interface circuit. How this I/O bus and interface model work? So here is the steps. Okay. So how the input and output is managed. I/O management. Okay. So each interface, okay, each of these interface in the diagram decodes the device address. Okay. So each device will have its own address. Okay. So each interface, this interface decodes the device address and control received from the I/O bus. And each interface decodes the commands, that means the operation. Okay, it can be read operation or write operation. So reading from the input device or writing to the output device. And each interface provides signals for peripheral control. Okay. And each interface synchronizes the data flow and supervises the transfer rate between the peripheral and the processor. Okay. So it handles all the synchronization issues. Each interface handles the synchronization issues. Okay. So in other words, CPU checks the input-output model device status. Okay. So say for example, the keyboard. Okay. So whenever the processor wants to communicate with the keyboard, no, so the CPU checks the status of the keyboard. Okay. So then if the keyboard is ready, okay, so what this interface circuit will do? Okay. So this interface module as the interface circuit returns the status, okay, to the processor, indicating that the device is ready. That means the keyboard is ready. Okay. So once the device is ready, that means the keyboard is ready. Okay. The CPU can request the data. Okay. So input and output transfer module gets data from the device. So this input-output interface circuit gets the data from the device, okay? Or the input-output module transfers data to the CPU. So these are the input-output steps. Okay, I'll repeat. So CPU checks the I/O module device status. Okay, these are the devices. Input-output model returns the status. These input-output models returns the device status. If ready, then CPU requests the data transfer, and the input-output model gets data from the device, or input-output model transfer data to the CPU. And as I said, each interface circuit decodes the commands. Okay, the operation. So for I/O operation, there are 4 types of input-output commands that an I/O module may receive when it is addressed by a processor. Okay. So which are those I/O commands? The first one is the control command. So this control command is issued to activate the peripheral and to inform it what to do. Say, for example, a magnetic tape unit may instruct it to backspace the tape by 1 record, to rewind the tape, or to start the tape moving in forward direction. Okay. Then another I/O command is the status command. So the status command is used to test various status conditions in the interface and the peripheral. So one example is a computer may check the status of the peripheral device before a transfer is initiated. Okay. Suppose when it is communicating with the keyboard, okay, it can issue the status command to check whether the device is ready to accept the input from the keyboard or not. If the device is not ready, again, the processor will continuously check the device, okay, until the device is ready. And the next input-output command, data output command. So this can be a write command. Okay. So data output command is nothing but the write command. Okay. So this data output command causes the interface to respond by transferring data from the bus into one of its registers. Okay. Example, the processor issues the data output command when the tape is in correct position. That means we are writing the data into the output device. So that is the meaning. Okay. So tape here is nothing but an output device. So whenever you want to write data to the output device, okay, so this data output command is issued, or write command is issued. Then data input command is also called as the read command. So this is opposite to data output command, that means write command. So in this case, the interface receives an item of data from the peripheral. Okay. It is nothing but simply we are reading data from the peripheral or input device and place it in its buffer register. The processor issues a data input command when data is available in the buffer register. So once the data is read from the input device, okay, that will be get stored in the buffer register. Okay, so the CPU will get this data from this input register, okay, by issuing the data input command. Okay. The interface then places the data on the data lines, that means the data bus, where they are accepted by the processor. So this is how the data input command is used to read data from the input device or the peripheral device, input peripheral. Then input output versus the memory bus. Okay. So as you know that, so far we know how the peripheral devices are connected to the CPU using the I/O interface circuit or I/O module. So in addition to communicating with I/O, the processor must communicate with memory unit also, isn't it? Okay. So in the same manner how we have interfaced the processor with the I/O, no? So you have to interface the processor with the memory also. Okay. So then the memory bus. So memory bus is for information transfer between the CPU and the main memory. Okay. So we have an interface. Should have also have an interface for communication between the CPU and the memory. Okay. So that is nothing but the memory bus. Similarly, I/O bus. We need to have I/O bus. That means I/O bus is for information transfer between the CPU and the I/O devices through their I/O interface. Okay. So this memory bus does not require an interface circuit, okay, because the memories are directly connected to the CPU, okay, for communication. There is no interface circuit needed, okay, for communication between the CPU and the memory. So only for input output, we need an interface between the CPU and the I/O devices, okay. So there are three ways that computer buses can be used to communicate with memory and I/O. Because we have to interface between the CPU and the memory and the CPU and the I/O device. Okay. So there are three ways that computer buses can be used to communicate with memory and I/O. So which are those three ways? One is use two separate buses, one for memory and the other for I/O. Okay. So then another way is use one common bus for both memory and I/O, but have separate control lines for each. And another way is use one common bus for memory and I/O with common control lines. Okay. So this is the third way. So of communicating the processor with the I/O and the memory. Okay, so that means we'll use two separate buses, one for memory and the other for I/O. Okay, you can see here. The first way, use two separate buses. That means separate buses means separate address bus, data bus, control bus. Okay, one for memory and the other for the input output. Okay, so how it is done? See the diagram here. Okay, so the main memory is connected to the CPU. Okay, using the separate bus. Similarly, the CPU is connected to the I/O devices, okay, using separate I/O channels, okay, separate buses. So this is done in computers that provide a separate I/O processor. So we have a separate I/O processor here. In addition to the central processing unit, in addition to the CPU, we have a separate I/O processor. So the purpose of the input-output processor, this I/O processor, is to provide an independent pathway for the transfer of information between the external device and the main memory. Okay. So we have a separate I/O processor, I/O channels for communication between the main memory and the I/O devices. So the I/O processor is sometimes called a data channel. Okay. So this I/O processor is sometimes called as the data channel. Okay. Then what is isolated and memory mapped I/O? Okay, so what is the difference between isolated versus the memory mapped I/O? So the next two ways, okay. So use one common bus for both memory and I/O, okay, and use one common bus for memory and I/O with common control lines. No. So the third way is nothing but the memory mapped I/O. The second way is nothing but the I/O mapped I/O. Okay. That means in memory mapped I/O, we will use one common bus for memory and I/O with common control lines. Okay. Whereas in isolated map, okay, so we will use one common bus for both memory and I/O, but have separate control lines for each. Okay. So that is what the memory mapped I/O is. Okay. So if you observe here, we have the memory, the CPU, and the I/O devices. Okay. So here in memory mapped I/O, a single set of read-write control lines. Okay, so we have a single set of read-write control lines. Which are those? The read line, the write line. Okay, for the memory, the CPU, and I/O devices. Okay, so there is a single set of read-write control lines. Okay, see, these memory, CPU, and I/O devices are connected to single set of the read and write control lines. Okay, and there is no distinction between the memory and IO transfer. Okay, so that means the main memory, the CPU, and the IO device are connected to the common IO buses. Okay, that means the data bus, the address bus, and the control bus. Okay, so memory and IO addresses share a common address space. That means with memory IO, one address space is divided into two parts. Okay, if you observe the diagram here, okay, so the memory is divided into two parts. Okay, some addresses refers to the physical memory location. Okay, so this part refers to the physical memory location, and some addresses actually refers to the peripherals. So the memory is divided into two parts, as I said. Okay, so some addresses are refers to physical memory locations, and some addresses or other addresses actually refers to the peripherals. So that is the meaning of memory and IO addresses share the common address space. So then what is isolated IO? So refers the diagram here. So in isolated input output, we have a separate IO read write control lines in addition to the memory read write control lines. Okay. If you observe here, how the memory, CPU, and the IO devices are connected through the IO buses. That means the data bus, address bus, and the control bus. Okay. So we have a separate IO read write control lines. See here, these IO devices will have a separate IO read write control lines. Okay, so read IO, write IO, and so on. Similarly, we'll have a separate read write control lines for memory. Okay, so see here, we have a separate memory read and memory write control lines. And in isolated IO, we have separate memory and IO address space. Okay, so if you for the diagram here, so we'll have a separate memory and the IO address spaces. That means the memory is divided into again two parts. Okay, and they are separated. Okay, so this memory refers to the physical memory locations, and this IO address space is actually refers to the peripheral addresses. Okay, so we have a separate memory and IO address space. So these memory mapped IO and isolated IO are two complementary methods of performing input output between the CPU and the peripheral devices. Okay. So an alternate approach is, as I said, this one, first one. Okay, this first one. An alternate approach from memory mapped IO and isolated IO is used to two separate buses, one for memory and the other for IO. So this one. Okay. So an alternate approach is using the dedicated IO processor. Okay, as I said. So commonly known as the data channel. So other ways are the memory mapped IO and the isolated IO. Okay. So in isolated IO, as I said, one major difference is we'll have a separate address space for memory. You can see here, we have a separate address space for main memory, okay, and we have a separate address space for the IO devices. Okay, that's it. I will stop here today. Okay, so we'll continue in the next class. So in the next class, I will try to finish this module 4. Okay. Now, any doubts? then I will stop it here. So thanks for joining.